Let me tell you about a man I'll call Michael. Michael was 64 years old, a calm, thoughtful man, married for over 30 years, still deeply in love with his wife, still attracted to her, still wanting closeness the way he always had. But something had started happening that he couldn't quite explain. Not suddenly, not dramatically, quietly, gradually. He told me something that I have heard from many men over the years. The desire is still there, doctor. But the response? It's unpredictable. Morning firmness that used to appear without effort began fading. Some nights, everything worked normally. Other nights, nothing. And the hardest part? He didn't feel like himself anymore. For many men, this moment is confusing and even a little frightening because the mind is ready, but the body hesitates. And the first thought most men have is this: my testosterone must be crashing, or this is just aging, nothing I can do about it. But here's something important I want you to hear today. For many men over 50 or 60, this isn't primarily a hormone problem. It's a circulation problem. And circulation is something we can influence, often in surprisingly simple ways. Today, I'm going to explain one food that researchers continue studying because of how it supports blood flow in the body, especially in men whose circulation has slowed with age. And no, it's not an expensive supplement. It's not some exotic root from the mountains. In fact, you've probably walked past it in the grocery store dozens of times without thinking twice. But before we get into that, do me a quick favor. If you're watching this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. I always love seeing how global this community is. We have men here from the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, Nigeria, South Africa, and many other places around the world. And if you're someone who values honest conversations about men's health, you're absolutely in the right place. Now let's talk about something many men misunderstand. Let me ask you an honest question. If I told you that erectile difficulty can sometimes be an early warning sign of blood vessel problems, not simply aging, would that change how you think about it? Because in many cases, that's exactly what researchers have found. Here's the simple biology. An erection is not just about desire. It's not just hormones. It's actually a vascular event. That means it depends on healthy blood flow. When a man becomes aroused, signals travel from the brain down through the nervous system. Those signals tell the body to release a molecule called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is incredibly important. It tells blood vessels to relax and widen. When the vessels widen, blood flows in more easily. And that increased blood flow is what creates firmness. It's mechanical, direct, and very dependent on circulation. Now, here's where aging enters the picture. After about age 50, several things begin to happen inside the body. The cells lining the blood vessels, called endothelial cells, begin to lose efficiency. They produce less nitric oxide. The vessels themselves become stiffer and less flexible. Inflammation slowly increases, and oxidative stress accumulates. All of this makes the vascular system a little slower to respond. Now, here's something many men don't realize. The blood vessels involved in erections are very small, much smaller than the ones in your heart. Because they are small, they often show signs of circulation changes earlier than other parts of the body. That means changes in performance can sometimes appear years before other symptoms of circulation problems. This is one reason many doctors now encourage men to treat erectile changes not as embarrassment, but as valuable. Information from the body. Information that says, take care of your circulation. And here's the encouraging part. Circulation is not fixed. Blood vessels are living tissue. They respond to lifestyle, movement, sleep, and nutrition, which brings us to the food I want to talk about today. Before we go further, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Dr. Jocelyn, and I work in the field of men's health and vascular wellness. For the past 5 years, I've spent my time studying how lifestyle, nutrition, and circulation affect energy, aging, and men's physical confidence. During that time, I've spoken with hundreds of men in their 50s, men in their 60s, men in their 70s. And one thing I noticed again and again is this: the men who maintained stronger circulation and better overall vitality were not necessarily the youngest. They weren't necessarily athletes either. What they often shared were consistent daily habits, small things done regularly, and one particular food kept appearing in both research studies and the diets of many healthy older adults. a food that scientists have studied for its effects on blood vessel function. That food is beetroot. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Beets? Really? Yes. And the reason is surprisingly fascinating. Because beetroot contains one of the richest natural sources of dietary nitrates. And nitrates are important because the body can convert them into, you guessed it, nitric oxide. But here's where things get interesting. Beetroot doesn't rely on the same nitric oxide pathway that declines with age. It actually uses a different biological route. Think of it like a backup system. When you eat nitrate-rich foods like beetroot, your body converts those nitrates through your saliva and gut bacteria into nitric oxide through a separate pathway, a pathway that remains active even in older adults. Which means beetroot can help support circulation even when the traditional nitric oxide system is slowing down. And that's why researchers have been studying it for years in cardiovascular and aging research. But that's just the beginning. Because beetroot also helps in 3 other ways that most men never hear about. Number 4, it helps support nitric oxide levels. As we just discussed, nitric oxide is the molecule responsible for helping blood vessels relax. Without enough nitric oxide, vessels stay tighter, and tighter vessels mean less blood flow. Beetroot provides nitrates that the body converts into nitric oxide through that alternative pathway we talked about. Studies have shown that after consuming nitrate-rich foods, circulation markers can improve within a few hours. That doesn't mean a miracle overnight, but it does mean the body is getting support for its natural blood flow mechanisms, and for men experiencing circulation changes, even small improvements can make a noticeable difference over time. Number 3, it supports blood vessel flexibility. Another thing that happens with aging is arterial stiffness. Blood vessels lose their elasticity. Instead of expanding easily when blood flows through them, they become more rigid. Imagine an old garden hose compared to a new flexible one. That stiffness makes circulation less efficient. Beetroot contains compounds called betalains and polyphenols. These natural plant compounds are associated with anti-inflammatory effects and may support vascular health. Lower inflammation means blood vessels can function more smoothly. And when vessels function smoothly, circulation improves throughout the body, including areas that rely on good blood flow. Number 2, it supports oxygen delivery. Another benefit researchers have observed involves oxygen transport. Better circulation means oxygen reaches tissues more effectively. When tissues receive better oxygen supply, they function more efficiently. This includes muscle tissue, brain tissue, and yes, pelvic tissue as well. Many athletes actually use beetroot juice for this exact reason, improved oxygen efficiency. But the benefit isn't limited to athletes. Older adults can experience improved circulation markers as well. Now, before we get to the number 1 reason beetroot is so interesting, I want to ask you something. Have you already tried beetroot before? Let me know in the comments. And if you're learning something new here, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps more men discover these conversations. Now let's talk about the most surprising benefit. Number 1, it may support blood flow to the brain. Here's something many men don't think about. An erection doesn't start in the pelvis. It starts in the brain. The brain sends the signal. The nervous system carries that signal, and circulation allows the body to respond. Research in older adults has found that dietary nitrates, including those from beetroot, may increase blood flow in certain parts of the brain associated with decision-making and neural communication. Better circulation to the brain can support clearer signaling between brain and body, and that communication is essential for natural response. Again, this doesn't mean beetroot is a magic switch, but it does mean it supports several systems that play a role in male vascular health. Now let's talk about how to actually use it. Because consistency matters more than quantity. Here's a simple plan many men find easy to follow. Try adding a small portion of beetroot to your morning routine, about half a cup of cooked beetroot with breakfast, or a small glass of diluted beetroot juice earlier in the day. Morning tends to work best because the nitrate conversion process begins earlier and supports circulation throughout the day. You can also combine this with a few habits that naturally improve circulation. A short 10-minute morning walk, drinking enough water, getting consistent sleep, and reducing late-night heavy meals. And equally important, avoid things that damage blood vessels: smoking, excess alcohol, high-sugar diets. These habits reduce nitric oxide and damage circulation over time. No food can fully overcome those factors if they remain unchanged. But when healthy habits work together, the body responds. Now, I want to speak directly to the men watching this who may feel discouraged. Maybe you've already started thinking, this part of my life is just over. I understand why that thought appears, but in many cases, it's not the full story. Aging does change the body. That's real. The margin for error becomes smaller. The systems that once worked automatically sometimes need more support, but that doesn't mean vitality disappears. What it means is the body now responds best to care and consistency. The vascular system, even later in life, can remain surprisingly responsive when it receives the right support. Healthy circulation, movement, rest, nutrition. These things still matter at 60, at 65, even at 70 and beyond. And often the men who see the greatest improvements are not the youngest ones. They are the ones who simply decide, I'm going to start taking care of this. Not with complicated routines, not with expensive supplements, but with small, daily decisions. Sometimes it starts with something as simple as adding healthy food to breakfast. One step, repeated daily. And over time, the body begins responding again. So if today's video gave you something helpful, maybe a new perspective, or even just a little hope, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I share evidence-based conversations about men's health every week. And before you go, leave a comment and tell me, where are you watching from? I read as many comments as I can, and I love seeing this community grow across the world. This is Dr. Jocelyn reminding you of something important. Your body is not finished, not at 60, not at 70. It is still capable of responding to the way you care for it. Give it the support it needs. Be patient, stay consistent, and never underestimate what small daily habits can do for your vitality. I'll see you in the next video.